listener production. Hello, welcome to this bonus episode of The Briefing. Sacha Barbour Gatt with you. Does Bunnings have a monopoly over the hardware industry in Australia? A lot of people think, yes, it does. And it's forced specialty, small business, mum and dad stores to shut down because they can't compete with the juggernaut that is the iconic green and red warehouse. But despite our love of tearing down big companies in Australia and holding them to account, Bunnings manages to evade this treatment. In fact, Aussies love Bunnings. It consistently tops Roy Morgan's most trusted brands poll and has become part of the cultural zeitgeist, synonymous with sausage sizzles, raves, community outreach, and being the home of everything DIY. After exploring this idea with consumer and money expert Joel Gibson in this morning's episode of The Briefing, we reached out to Bunnings to see if they wanted to respond. And they did. Here's my chat with Bunnings Warehouse's Managing Director, Mike Schneider. Mike, first off, thank you so much for joining us on The Briefing today. Do you think Bunnings has a monopoly over the Australian hardware industry?
Firstly, Sacha, thanks for the opportunity of talking today. I've been looking forward to this. We operate in a very diverse market. You know, Bunnings provides products and services to DIYers like you or me, but also to hundreds of thousands of businesses as well through our commercial and B2B enterprises. And the market that we operate in, you know, is everything from the front gate to the back fence of your home or building site or servicing offices or servicing government and hospitals and schools and the like. So you can imagine that it's a very, very big market that we operate in. And the calculations that we have, and we share these with our investors every year at our strategy day, suggests that the home improvement, lifestyle and construction market is somewhere in the vicinity of about $100 to $110 billion of revenue. So when you plot that against our revenue last year, which was close to $19 billion, you can sort of see that the market share is far from monopolistic. And one of the things that I think is quite interesting is that if you are doing a renovation on your home, chances are you could probably buy every single product that you wanted from Bunnings or no products at all. Such is the diversity of the market. And in fact, whether it's, you know, Amazon or Reese Plumbing or Beacon Lighting or Total Tools, there are countless retailers out there where you can get your home improvement goods and services. So for us, we have to compete really hard every day to earn the right to be chosen by our customers.
So in that case, would you say that the footprint that Bunnings has in the market is earned then and not so much engineered, as you've done all the right things to earn that spot among Australians to go, I need something for the house, I'm going to go to Bunnings?
I'd certainly like to believe that's the case. You know, for sure, there are probably some customers that are shopping with us because they may not feel they've got another option. But certainly from the conversations we have, the customer research that we do, it's really clear that, you know, our really deep commitment over 3 decades to lowest prices for our customers has built a lot of trust. I think we work with, you know, trusted household names. Australian consumers in the home improvement space really do value brands like Victor Lawnmowers or Hills Hoist, Dulux Paint, just to name a few. And I think that our ability to provide those in a very value-conscious way is resonating, particularly at this very challenging time in the Australian economy.
Australians are an interesting bunch. You know, tall poppy syndrome is alive and well in this country. We love to rag on Coles and Woolies for ripping us off, for not doing the right thing by their staff, or for, you know, holding what a lot of people see as and what really is a duopoly over the supermarket market in Australia. Bunnings, however, with, you know, like I said before, when people think of, I need to do something around the house, Bunnings is the first store, the first retailer that pops into most people's heads. What do you think it is about Bunnings that you've managed to avoid this kind of negative stereotype of being this huge fish in a small pond?
Without a doubt, Sacha, it's our team. You know, we're really privileged to work across Australia and New Zealand, which is the markets in which Bunnings operate with, you know, 55,000 teammates who, you know, are out there every day doing their best, you know, for our customers, whether that's sourcing the best products at the best prices or serving, you know, in store. I think equally, you know, we've got a very deep connection to community. If I think about, you know, our local stores, and if you think about, you know, regional communities like Wangaratta or Wagga or Kalgoorlie in Western Australia, our team members live in those communities. They're raising their families in those local communities and they're supporting those local communities. We've been really, you know, good, I think, over the years at bringing community groups into our stores. And taking our stores out into our communities. And, you know, I'm sure you've got memories of your football club or your netball club doing a barbecue at Bunnings or seeing Bunnings team members at a a local school helping to build a veggie garden, or down at a nursing facility, running craft activities for older people, or dressing up an outdoor area for those communities to be able to enjoy themselves. And we've never sort of sought to publicise or amplify that. In my mind, the money is much better spent putting that money back into the community than big billboards in our stores or out on the highways saying, speaking to all the good things we do. We'd rather just get on and do it. And I think that Australians really appreciate those in their communities who roll out their sleeves and, offer a hand up rather than looking for a hand out. And I think that's really struck a chord with Australians over many years.
Now, we spoke to Joel Gibson, who's a consumer expert, about Bunnings' position in the market, and he thinks that there's a good chance that a lot of that is on purpose, that getting out into the community, the sausage sizzles, the charity links, while it's obviously all for a good cause, it is also on purpose to increase that spread of positive PR. What's your response to that?
I think it is on purpose. I'd probably disagree with Joel in the motivation. Our team really want to do this and really get value from it. I think, we all feel really proud when we have the opportunity to get out and get involved with community groups. And I think if we were doing it for that less altruistic reason, if you like, I think we would be looking to sort of promote and advertise that, the fact that I will get a letter from a local sort of CFA unit or a CWA group or a men's shed complimenting a team on something that they've done and having no idea that they've done that speaks to the genuineness and the authenticity of what our team try to do. We definitely understand the value of it. We also understand that in the world in which we're living at the moment, it's not pretty tough. It's really tough out there. And, if we're able to sort of support different groups the ways that we do, then in a lot of ways, we're sort of filling in the cracks where other funding, be it government funding or other charity funding, may be falling short. I think the stat was something like $60 million in the last financial year in funds raised through things like our community barbecues. And that turned up in something like 80,000 different community activities. And if we didn't want to do those things, I don't think you could achieve the scale and volume that we do. But it is achieved because our team love it, they're passionate about it, and they're always pushing us to do even more.
You spoke about Bunnings' profit against what the entire industry is worth and kind of argued, well, Bunnings clearly doesn't have a monopoly. However, we do know that a lot of stores, mum and dad run stores in the local community, can't compete with what Bunnings can do because of its size and its scope and its scale. Do you agree that it's regrettable that there are stores that are smaller that have had to kind of shut up shop because Bunnings has just expanded its footprint so large that no one can compete?
It's a great narrative that's out there, that's for sure. And I think in the world in which we live, it's a really believable storyline that big is bad. The reality is that, if you and I decided tomorrow, Sacha, to start a hardware store and we tried to source all our products independently, it'd be really hard. But most of these organisations are part of larger franchising and buying groups. So, behind a Mitre 10 store in a regional community will be IHG, who are the wholesalers for Metcash. And they're buying in enormous volumes. They're buying in volumes not dissimilar to ours. And what that offers to those family-run businesses is, a great opportunity to be able to run and grow their business. And we've seen many of these organisations grow over time. To give you a couple of examples, on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, you've got the Sunshine Mitre 10 group. They've continued to expand and open new stores. We've seen the same with Petries in Western New South Wales. These are very strong, very well-run businesses, and they're very sophisticated with a very sophisticated owner behind them. But I think sometimes in the narrative, it's just easy to sort of fall into a sort of a well-worn path of, well, big companies make it really difficult. The flip side is, of course, we're bringing a national pricing framework into regional communities. We're building stores which create construction jobs in regional communities, and then we're employing people in these regional communities to, be able to, pay for their school fees and do all the things that they want to do, pay their mortgages and raise their families. So I think there is a balance to the argument. And sometimes, it's very difficult unless you've got a specific example to understand what's worked or what's not worked. And we know that, from time to time we've acquired an independent or a store in a regional community. We've been able to help that family exit with a really good earnout, but also continue to create employment and offer those products and services in those communities. So I think it's a much more nuanced conversation than the broader narrative that's sometimes sort of pushed through.
I wanted to ask about perhaps Bunnings' most well-known catch cry, which is if you can find a cheaper price on a stocked item, we'll beat it by 10%. I think I got that verbatim. Yep. There's criticism that that's skewed in Bunnings' favour because Bunnings has a lot of exclusivity to its range and also will do things like stock one particular size of cleaning product that isn't stocked, say, at Woolies or at Coles or at a smaller store. What's your response to that criticism?
Oh, I'm actually thrilled you asked this question, Sacha. So first and foremostly, exclusive brands and home brands aren't unique to Bunnings. Every single retailer that I've encountered globally does that. Supermarkets, hardware stores, those sorts of things. You'll find products stocked in a Mitre 10 that you can't find stocked in Bunnings and vice versa. We take a very, whilst there's a legal framework around our price guarantee, because we advertise it, we've got to make sure that the advertising representations are legally accurate. We encourage our team to take a very common sense approach to this. So if there's a Black & Decker drill in another hardware store that has similar features and benefits to one that is branded differently at Bunnings, we'll adjust the price accordingly because we can see that the like for likeness in the product is there. And similarly with units of measure. So if we're selling 10 litres of laundry detergent, for example, because we're a warehouse and we sell big and bulky product, we'll want to make sure at the sort of 100 mil level that the value is still there for the consumer. So, we're not trying to sort of put the walnut under a cup and spin it around till you can't find it. We want to be very transparent and we educate our team from the very first day they join Bunnings about how that model works. Same too, say, for a plastic tub that doesn't have a brand. If it's a 48-litre plastic tub and the retailer down the road's got one that looks pretty similar, our team are empowered to match and beat it. And the price guarantee gets taken up. And I can assure you that consumers are incredibly value conscious. I was in a store recently and was talking to a lady and she was comparing our dishwasher tablets and she was literally dividing with a calculator the number of tablets in our pack to make a comparison against one of the supermarkets. So you can see that I think consumers would call us out pretty quickly if we were dropping the ball on that.
Do you know how many people take up that promo?
Oh, it's in the thousands every year.
Look, before we let you go, Mike, I'm keen to hear what you think Bunnings' responsibility is to the Australian public. And do you believe it's fulfilling those responsibilities?
I think we've got an enormous responsibility and on so many different levels. From a consumer point of view, it's all about value. And for 3 decades, we've talked about having the lowest prices in the market and we've got to back that up and deliver it every single day. That's sort of the driver of trust from a consumer point of view. But equally, we've got really deep responsibilities on so many other levels. We've talked extensively about community, so I won't go back over that. But, one of the things that is really important is that we are a great employer. We've got 50,000 people working in Australia. We have 75% of those team in permanent roles. That's very unusual for retail. We invest in careers for people to build out through our training manager programs, which we call Future Leaders, or our graduate programs. So we take that responsibility really, really seriously. And equally, for older Australians, 29% of our workforce are aged over 50. And if you meet someone over 50 and talk to them about how hard or easy it is to get a job, it's really tough out there. So creating those opportunities for older Australians is really important. Following all of the legislation and all of the things that we're legally responsible for, making sure that we're a good corporate citizen through the taxes that we pay, whether it's payroll tax, all those sorts of things, that's also really important. Many, many Australians, hundreds of thousands, are financial shareholders directly or indirectly in our parent company, Wesfarmers. Bunnings represents 70% of the group's earnings. So we play an outsized role in making sure that shareholders, everyday Australians like you and I, are getting a great return either into their superannuation or in the value of their shares with Wesfarmers or the dividends that we pay. So you can sort of see that, to do what we do and deliver returns over the long time, we've got to have a great offer, we've got to have amazing people, but we've also got to build trust. And if we're getting those 3 things right, then we earn the right to be chosen by customers and to deliver a return that is really satisfactory for our shareholders.
And I will say, Joel did make that point that Bunnings has earned that right in a lot of ways. You don't have the same scandals that we see from places like Qantas and Woolworths. So I think all your points are very fair. Mike Schneider, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us on the briefing today. We do appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure, Sacha. See you next time.
That was the Managing Director of Bunnings, Mike Schneider, speaking with me there. And that is it for this episode of The Briefing. Before you go, I'd love it if you could share this ep with someone who you think might enjoy it. It is a really easy way you can support us and all that we do here at The Briefing. And so is sharing our socials posts to your family and friends. Check us out on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast. Also, search us up on TikTok and YouTube by typing in Listener Newsroom. I'm Sacha Barbour Gatt. We'll catch you at 3 p.m. for another episode of The Briefing.